Hey team, you're watching Hide and Sneakz, and if you're a Foamposite lover, time to rejoice because we've got another great release coming out. And I thought after the Nike Foamposite Galaxies release last month, it would be quite some time before we saw another great Foamposite. But Nike said, hey, hold my beer, and they've come out with another great option. That is today what we're talking about, the Nike Foamposite in the black Vault colorway. Now, Foamposite hype has been quite low in recent years, and that is an absolute shame because it's such a cool shoe and silhouette. So I'm really excited to see Nike putting a lot of effort behind this, because when they put effort behind pairs, we tend to see a lot of releases. They did it a few years ago, trying to put some effort and hype behind the twos. A lot of people weren't feeling that, but I think the Foamposite being such an iconic pair in history, we're really keen to see that hype and regularity return to this pair. Now this one's a really interesting one because Foamposites tend to fall in one of two camps. First of all, they tend to be a solid color blocking, and that kind of means it's a great way to build a color wheel. You have a red pair, a green pair, so on and so forth. Or they go the opposite way, and because of the material allowing them to print quite interesting patterns on the side, that's where you get some quite wild stuff. That's where you get things like textured looks like storms and magma, galaxies and such like that. And that's where you have either the solid color blocking pair that's incredibly wearable, or the statement pair that you use as an accent piece in your collection. And this falls somewhere in the middle. Because it's mostly black, it'll be very easy to wear, but because it's got that Vault outsole, it does still have a little bit of that sort of statement here. So I do think it's interesting, and it is something we need to talk about. So let's see if the Foamposite has a place in your collection, and see, is it a miss, is it a maybe, or is it a must? Starting things off with, is it a miss? Now normally when I look at a miss, I look at it in context of materials or place in your collection. Foamposites are an interesting one because of how they're built. They've got quite amazing tech in them, but the outlet doesn't really allow a lot of opportunity for an uplift in materials without going too quirky and doing things that are leather or suede. So in this case, aligned with a normal Foamposite would expect to see, I wouldn't hold anything about the materials here. I do think it's really wearable as well. While it does have a Vault green, and it's going to be a bit of an acquired taste, I think the majority of the shoe is black, so it's definitely out of miss territory because you can still wear it, and it does still have its interest piece. Looking at it a maybe or a must, I don't think it's a must, because while it is still wearable because that main black shoe, it kind of falls in between layer. And if it was a must, you've got better options like the anthracite, and I don't necessarily think it's enough of a statement to be based on that. I think normally on a Foamposite, the silhouette of the shoe speaks quite heavily as to what makes it a statement, and I almost feel like the Vault kind of colours distract away from the great iconic shape of the Foamposite. So I would say it's a maybe if you're collecting Foamposites, you're working your way through a colour wheel on Foamposites, or you just want a good, interesting black shoe. Now moving on to the vibe check of the Foamposite Black Vault, and this is quite an interesting one because I've actually seen people discuss this pair regularly with another pair. So before I jump into that pair, I'm going to look at this firstly as a mostly black Foamposite, and obviously the most recent release we've had in a mostly black Foamposite was the anthracite a couple of years ago. So while I do see this as a bit of a vibe check for that pair, it really depends what you're after. If you want a black Foamposite and you don't really care about some of the details on it, so the Vault green doesn't throw you off, and this is a great vibe check for that. It might be a weaker vibe check though if you want something that is mostly black, and that will be a bit of a distraction for Vault green. Taking it back a step further, we've actually had this pair discussed a lot online, and people have made their own vibe check comparisons with a release that was done for Paranorman. And that particular pair has a black upper with green fire on the side, so the kind of black greeny Vault contrast is a little reminiscent here in this pair. Because that pair is so incredibly limited, you're not going to get your hands on this pair, so I think this is a good vibe check. However, that said, Nike has been releasing things from the Vault, so we might see this pair one day down the line, but for the time being, this is a great vibe check for that pair. Taking this an even further step back and having that green bottom with that black upper, I do sort of see a small vibe check hint, the Nike Foamposite Pro in the Yeezy colorway. And this is quite an interesting one because the Foamposite itself is already a vibe check and nod to another pair, obviously inspired by Yeezy and the Solar colorway. We haven't had a Nike Yeezy in a very long time, and we probably won't for a very long time, if ever. So this was for a lot of people a great way of capturing an affordable version of those. But because of how things were left between Nike and Yeezy, I don't think they're going to retro a Foamposite anytime soon that's inspired by the Yeezys. So if you wanted to get a vibe check that kind of is reminiscent of that shoe, I think the Black Vault does a great job of that as well. Up next we have Brooklyn's take, and we're going to see how many purple hearts the Black Foamposites get. I do think she's going to have a bit of a problem with the Vault green, but I do think she really likes the Foamposite silhouette. I've just recently picked up the coppers myself, and she was pretty positive of that. So Let's see what she thinks. Is this pair a near miss or near misses, and how many Purple Hearts ratings is it going to get?
This is a shoe I kind of like that there's only 2 colours. But when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's definitely slime. But apart from that, when I actually stopped and looked at it, this is quite a neat shoe. It looks like a shoe that would glow in the dark.
I don't think this one glows in the dark, but I do get your Nickelodeon vibes. It definitely has that.
Because of the black, it's quite heavy on the black side, that it could be more wearable, but there's just a hint of green, so it makes it more of a statement at the same time. But so I'd probably say equally. Tasteful slime.
So compared to last month's Foamposite that you saw in an earlier video, which was the Galaxy Foamposites.
Yeah, these ones are a standout. These ones are way better. If I was to compare, can we remember what was the rating I gave them? There was a 1.
0.5, I think.
0.5, was it 0.5? Yeah, no, these ones are much better. I'd even say these are sitting around 6 or 7 Purple Hearts. I'm gonna go 6 because it's tasteful, but there's probably room for improvement. If it was another colour, like yellow would be 6.
You think that Nike needs to do kind of like a Thunder, which is the pair behind you?
I love these. These are my favourite.
So a Thunder Foamposite.
Yeah, and I really like them. I think it'd be really good.
And is it a near miss or near misses?
It's a near misses.
Thanks, babe, as usual, for making time on the channel. I'm not sure it's what we've expected, but hey, great to see your thoughts. Well, that's all we have time for today. Let me know in the comment section below what you're thinking about Nike trying to resurge the Foamposite hype. Are you going to be collecting more Foamposites? Do you think they're going to come back? And are you going to be getting this pair? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.